All right, here with the second video of the day, we're going to talk about some of the protesting last night and a bit what's happening in Portland because the mayor's not too happy, Ted Wheeler. Well, he's kind of never unhappy. He was unhappy when, Trump tried to help. He was unhappy then when the protesters attacked him. He's just going to be unhappy. But first, we got Andy No here on Twitter. Portland tonight, BLM Antifa riders surround officer who pulled over driver. The driver flees, and when the officer tries to follow him, riders stand in front of his motorcycle. One gets hit, and apparently the guy got away. They say one gets hit, but she really didn't get hit. She stood in front of it. She put her hands out, got pushed for a bit, and then kind of slid away. I guess you could say she got hit. And then you got people screaming, "Medic! Medic!" And the woman is just screaming. But then she's found like an hour later screaming at police, like perfectly fine. So it's all pageantry at this point. At this point it's just lawlessness with the mob. So there's a mob now going around just harassing any officer they find. It doesn't even matter. This one isn't even a part of the protests or anything. He was just doing a routine traffic stop. And yep, here comes the mob now to start freeing people. Just hey, there's a police guy. We gotta save this person. That's probably their thinking. I wouldn't be surprised. Or they just want to attack police officers. Who knows? I'm not them. It's fair. I don't go around attacking police officers and just stopping routine traffic stops for no reason. But, whatever. We also then got Portland police officer drives motorcycle into protester blocking his path on Friday night demonstration from Oregon Live. Portland police officer drove a motorcycle into a protest who was blocking his path and pushed the person for some distance after what had been a largely peaceful demonstration against police violence Friday outside an East Portland law enforcement building. Largely peaceful, except for all the stuff that ends up getting destroyed and everything. Just don't worry about it, guys. Forget all the destruction. It's just mostly peaceful. A video that captured the incident shows an officer attempting to get away from a crowd of demonstrators by driving into the protester as she stood in his way. The video was published to social media within minutes. In a statement released early Saturday morning, Portland police said the woman jumped onto the officer's motorcycle after the officer pulled over two vehicles, a white van and a blue sedan, blocking traffic near the intersection of Northeast 47th Avenue and Northeast Couch Street. Another video showed the van speeding off and a group of protesters gathering around the officers as he spoke to the driver of the blue sedan. Man, I swear, no news organizations has editors at this point. Their grammar is all over the place. They also just don't have fact checkers either, so... As the officer turned his attention to the crowd, yelling repeatedly for people to back up, the driver of the blue sedan also fled, and the officer mounted his motorcycle to leave as several protesters moved to block his path. As he pulled away, his motorcycle glanced off a shield held by one protester, and he drove into and pushed another for several feet before she fell to the ground. But she's fine, because she was yelling at cops about an hour later, less than that, And she seemed pretty spry. Police said that some people threw objects at the officer, and one video appears to show an open beverage being thrown as the officer pulls away. So yeah, they're just going to start attacking random police officers, just doing routine traffic stops. That's pretty much it. Okay. We also got the U.S. Attorney say Portland police will remain federal deputies against mayor's wishes. Well, good, because they're not being charged. The mayor, the DA, the governor, all of them over there just are trash. They need to be charged federally, otherwise they're not being charged at all. They're being released on the streets, and they're just going to cause more destruction. We already have more than $2 billion in destruction from these people. Do we really need it to be 3, 4, 8, 9, 11, 474? I don't know. What do you want? So the decision was made jointly with the U.S. Marshal for Oregon, who deputized the police ahead of far-right rally. U.S. Attorney Billy Williams said Wednesday Portland police will retain their status as federal deputies despite Mayor Ted Wheeler's request to revoke their status. It's until the end of the year, so they still have a couple of months. In a statement, Williams said the action was needed because city leaders haven't done enough to quell violence at protests. And yeah, usually they're only deputized for a certain incident, just one day maybe. But yeah, they're being deputized until the end of the year because The DA won't charge these people. The mayor just incites it even more. I mean, he was with them in the streets at one point, and then, like, a day later, they went to his own place telling him to resign. So, does he think that they're with him? Well, he seems to think so still. He just can't quite leave their grasp. It's almost like Stockholm syndrome, you know? It says the federal deputation supports frontline law enforcement officers and their families in a way that they have not seen from City Hall, Williams said. Portlanders and Oregonians in general are sick of the boarded up and dangerous conditions prevalent in downtown Portland due to a lack of leadership. That, and they're still being locked down, and then it's like, you got to wear all these masks. It's like, well, you're letting all these people just destroy our stuff and then telling us to do absolutely nothing, and then you arrest them for a second, and then you let them out to destroy more. Of course people are fed up. The current dispute is the aftermath of a police response that brought federal, state, and local law enforcement together last weekend. Oregon Governor Kate Brown declared a state of emergency ahead of a September 26 far-right rally in Portland and placed law enforcement under a unified command consisting of the Oregon State Police and Multnomah County Sheriff's Office. As part of that preparation, the U.S. Marshals Service federally deputized 22 sheriff's deputies and 56 members of the Portland Police Bureau Rapid Response Team. An As OPB first reported Tuesday, the federal deputy designation did not end with the far-right rally. However, it extends through the end of the year, a decision made by the U.S. Marshals, according to Oregon State Police Captain Timothy Fox. Says in a statement released Wednesday on Facebook, Oregon State Police Superintendent Travis Hampton said the federal deputy status was an important part of a law enforcement strategy to supply accountability to violent extremists at the September 26th rally, but he also asked Williams to keep the federal status in place despite calls from local leaders to end them immediately. Hampton said keeping officers federally deputized allows increased prosecutorial, well, it's a little bit hard, discretion if rioters should assault an officer. It comes from the state police, said Portland Police Bureau Deputy Chief Chris Davis. The way I heard about it, it was Travis Hampton called me and said that this was happening as part of the plan for this past weekend's events. The conversation was not phrased in a way where it sounded like a request. It sounded like that was the direction that he was going. That would have been well within his prerogative as the person put in charge of that event by the governor. So yeah, they're talking about, I think they're talking about the Proud Boy rally that just ended up being nothing. They tried to label it as white supremacy, and they ended up just drinking beer and going home after a few hours. There was a state of emergency. The use of tear gas was finally reinstated because of it. So it was just a test on bias, and that's all it is. That's all it is. And, yeah, the news will lie to you. It says Portland police move early to quash Monday night protests. Hours after it was revealed Monday that 56 Portland police officers were made federal deputies at least through the end of the year. Officers with the Portland Police Bureau executed a show of force against protesters for racial justice. It was the 113th night of demonstrators in the city, and officers attempted to break up the gathering before it started. Is it even for racial justice anymore? Is it? I think it's just to have lawlessness and crime and, possibly just to go socialist for some reason, because why are the leaders and organizers of this stuff socialist? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're just trying to gain power for themselves, and they're using a lot of useful idiots. I will say that. Says the unusual move was a departure from past night's demonstrations when police often gathered at the site of the protest and waited for what they perceived to be unlawful activity before they intervened. Police did not declare an unlawful assembly at the park. However, according to a statement by police, the posture of the gathering suggested that it would become violent. A protester asked one officer why the police were there. We're just taking a walk, a nice stroll through the park, the officer said in reply. Protesters did eventually march to the Portland Police Association building in North Portland, where police declared the sidewalk closed. Police arrested multiple people for standing on the sidewalk outside the building. Over the course of the night, 24 people were arrested. So they're trying to get people over semantics at this point. It's like, oh, you're on federal property. This is the sidewalk, federal property. Oh, I'm arresting you. We got you now. We're just gonna walk with you until we can just snag you. That's pretty much it at this point. So And then we also got from the Washington Post, a pandemic, a crushed economy, and racial protest, and now a president with coronavirus. So yeah, we got all this stuff that, you know, Washington Post is just trying to fear-monger into people more and more. So we got that going for us, I guess. We got a bunch of fear-mongering going on from the mainstream media about all of it. Yeah. Wonder if it has any real truth within this article. I don't know. Maybe a little. They usually have a little bit of truth, and then it's mostly lies. And then after that, and then a bunch of backhanded comments, and then just over-bloated redundancy. It's most articles nowadays. It's what I keep reading over and over again. They have to make it a certain length just to seem credible enough, but no one reads past the headline in the first paragraph anyways, right? So why even try after that? Anyways, I'm just going to leave it there. We'll talk about probably more protest stuff tomorrow. I'll see you then. We got one more video coming up. Bye.